This month, we are doing a little series on literature because we believe in the power of books to shape us and create a love of learning in our kids and us. If you're a book lover or a wannabe book lover, welcome. You're listening to the Homeschool Made Simple podcast. This is a podcast to help you homeschool simply, inexpensively, and enjoyably. Carole Joy Seid has been helping families homeschool now for several decades through her literature-based approach to education. In this episode, Carole talks with her friend Jan Bloom about the joy of literature and how learning more about the authors who wrote our favorite books adds so much more richness to the experience of reading. Listen in.
We are so thrilled today to have someone that we kind of considered a rock star. Her name is Jan Bloom, and she lives in the fair state of Minnesota. And Jan has written some books that I want all of you to know about and be able to access. And she's going to tell us our story. So welcome, Miss Jan.
Thank you. And actually, I am a Minnesotan, but I currently live in Suffolk, Virginia. So just near Virginia Beach.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's marvelous. Well, that's a much lovelier climate, I'm assuming, right?
Oh yes, it's much nicer. Yes.
Oh, that's so fun. Well, Jan, tell me how our paths crossed because I love you, but I'm not sure when we first got acquainted. Tell me a little bit about that.
So I just did a little brief recap on a piece of paper so I would say things that I think are important. We heard about homeschooling in 1982 and decided that that's what we wanted to do and went to a Labrie seminar back when Francis Schaeffer was still alive and met Ranald Macaulay, Susan Schaeffer Macaulay's husband. And then we went to a Raymond Moore seminar in the Twin Cities. And then we started going to Mache when that started in Minnesota. And so you were a speaker at Mache in those early years. And I would go, and I'm not sure if I ever went to one of your workshops because I know you came to the Twin Cities and I think I did, but that was a really long time ago and I can't remember. So, but I would carry around your lists and they really helped inform me at the beginning and they were so important for me to get to know books. Just reading what other people had done, Honey for a Child's Heart, and then books children love.
Yes.
And Susan Schaeffer Macaulay's book For the Children's Sake. So they were the books that started me knowing books. I did not know books. I did not grow up in a book-rich family. I've decided in looking back that my mom, who was 2 months premature, her incubator was a shoebox on top of their wood-burning stove. I think she had reading issues, and so she didn't enjoy reading. And so we weren't encouraged really to read, and we didn't do much with books. And so learning about books was a pretty new thing for me when I decided to start homeschooling.
Yeah. So what turned the tide? What were your first experiences with loving books?
I think Honey for a Child's Heart, it's so hard to try to explain everything. Growing up in a conservative Christian home, at some point in my teenage years, one of the youth speakers said that you should only read the Bible, books about the Bible, and books about Christians and missionaries, and that fiction is, at best, a well-told lie. So starting in my teen years, I didn't read fiction because I was afraid of it. I wanted to live a life for the Lord. And, if fiction was a lie, I ought not be indulging in that. So reading Honey for a Child's Heart when I had my first daughter, it just blew up my world because of the things she said and just the freedom that it gave me to consider fiction. I started out slowly. I started out with James Herriot because he was sort of not fiction, but sort of fiction. And then I just started reading more and more and more and reading to my kids. So JJ was born on Jenny's third birthday. and Jody is between the two. So in exactly 3 years, I had 3 kids, and
Wow.
that was a bit challenging,
Yes.
and
And you have a JJ.
I do, I saw that you had a JJ too. Mine is a Jeffrey J. What is yours?
Jonathan Jonah.
Aha, yes.
Yes.
So we can tell where people are at in JJ's life because if they call him JJ, we know it's someone from his past and his family.
Oh.
And if they call him Bloom, we know it's someone from the Navy. And if they call him Jeff, we know that it's someone from the last, few years of
Adult
his life.
years.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
that's sweet.
So,
Yeah. Well, so you started homeschooling, and what was the methodology that you used starting out?
well, we had gone to a Raymond Moore seminar that first year in 1982. And so his book, School Can Wait, basically was about we did Charlotte, Charlotte Mason ideas were there from Ronald Macaulay's talk that turned into Susan's book, but it was School Can Wait. So it was just doing a lot of reading and a lot of activities. And
Working.
yeah, we just, teaching them to cook and things like that. Yeah, I didn't do much with workbooks or things like that. We ended up homeschooling them all through high school, which was very surprising. I didn't expect that. I mean, because hearing Raymond Moore, we were going to do it for a few years and then,
That's right.
merge into school, and we just kept doing it. And so our oldest daughter is actually right now she's training to be a homeopath, and that's
Mhm.
pretty cool.
Yes.
She did English as a second language for a number of years. And then our middle daughter did this and did that and did this and did that. And I don't think she ever finished college, but she's a scrum master, which I don't know. She took training, got a certification to be a scrum master. And then JJ, our son, was in the Navy for 15 years. He was
Ooh.
in IT. So
Okay.
he set me up with my headphones and he helped me get all this set up. So we live with our son. He was injured in an accident, so he has
Mm.
traumatic brain injury. And we
Oh.
moved here to live with him and just help him live life.
Oh, that's beautiful. I didn't know that. Well, you created 2 books and maybe you've even created more, but the 2 books I have in my hand, in which you so kindly, I think, gave me, was Who Should We Then Read? And Volume 2 of Who Should We Then Read? A Busy Reader's Concise Guide to the Best Authors of Living Books. I was speaking somewhere, and you had been in that community for a reason, and you had left these books for me as a gift, and I just love them. So tell me how your love affair with buying books and owning books and traveling around and finding these great books came about, and how you determined what books people should read to their children.
Well, as I said, we were starting with Raymond Moore's ideas, and so we would go to the library, and we each would have a box with handles. And so the librarians loved us and hated us because we were good for circulation figures, but they had all those books that they had to put away. And one day we went to the library, and there was this sign that said book sale room B. And
Ooh.
so we went into this. And if I had known then what I know now, I would be independently wealthy. But I didn't. And so, these tables of books, they were 25 cents each. And it was like, books. And and so we just started buying books. And
Yes.
then we started finding duplicate copies of books we had enjoyed.
Yes.
And then I started selling them at support groups in the Twin Cities.
Yes.
And so it was really interesting. So I was looking at the booklet that I did. Oh, what did I do with it? I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought I brought it. Oh, so this is the first book. This is a booklet that I did. And this was the very first thing. And I was reading the introduction and I thought, oh, I forgot that. Oh my goodness. It was just really fun This was 1998,
Yeah.
and this is how it started. So, uh, three friends and I, two of us were in Minnesota, two were in Mississippi. We knew each other, and we were all buying and selling books, and we
Yes.
decided that we should get together and make a pamphlet to give to our customers because we had learned all this stuff, and
Yes.
we wanted to share that information. And so we tried working on it, but two homeschooling moms in Mississippi and two in Minnesota, we
Yeah.
didn't get very far. So I I took it on because I was the furthest along in homeschooling. My kids were the oldest.
Yes.
And then it totally changed from what we were going to do to what I ended up doing. And then I just kept on adding authors. And finally, I thought, I need to stop. This is ridiculous. And so the first book has 157 authors.
Yes.
And then one of the gals, Mary Fredericks, who is one of the original four, she couldn't go to a book sale in Arkansas. And she called and asked if we wanted to go to Arkansas. And it's like, Arkansas, where's that? And so Gary and I decided that we would go to Arkansas. And I'd always just done the book sales in the Twin Cities by myself.
Yes.
And so Gary and I packed up. We had a Plymouth Voyager, and we packed it up with boxes of books so that as we went down the freeway, the back end was kind of dragging and the front end was hardly touching. And we got to Arkansas, and we set up this little booth with boxes of books, and it was really fun. And it's like, oh, this is really fun going other places. And then the next year we added more, and then Gary quit his job so that we could travel.
Wow.
And so we've been book missionaries for 25 years.
And is your personal library award winning? Like, do I need to come and live in your house and read all your books?
Well, I counted my bookcases. And okay, so I'm in my office right now, and these bookcases are
Yeah.
this is different.
Yes.
So I have 47 bookcases in my
No.
house that have
No.
our books in them. I mean, they're like a foot and a half wide
Yes.
and 6 feet tall. So
Yes.
yeah, I have a lot of them. But I'm not a librarian. So I mean, there are homeschool librarians, and
Yes.
they have like a complete collection of landmarks, and we were there as in
Right.
signatures. And I don't. I have really great books. I don't have books that people would come in and, use in their homeschooling. I'm praying about that because I don't think there's a homeschool library in our neck of the woods.
Mhm.
And the libraries here have a 5-year rule. So if a book is more than 5 years old, it gets tossed.
No.
And so it's either 5 or 10. Some are 5, some are 10.
Come on.
So we have a great used bookstore with the library, but really the only time I find landmarks is when a person donates them because they're not in the libraries anymore. Gary and I are getting old. Gary and I are old. We're not getting old. We are old. And so it's just a challenge to keep doing what we're doing. We pull a triple axle trailer filled with 45 bookcases filled with books. And so when we get to conventions, we have to offload all the cases and then set them up and hook them all together.
Yeah.
And then at the end, we have to pack them all up back in the trailer again. It's really hard work what we do with the bookcases and the books.
Yeah.
I mean, you know how heavy books are.
Yes.
So that's why we're just trying to figure out
The next
what,
step.
yes,
Yeah.
what we're going to do.
As homeschool parents, we need to know what we believe and why we believe it. If you aren't grounded in your why for homeschooling, it's going to be difficult to sustain this countercultural way of educating your kids. That's why we've put together a reading list for homeschool parents. This is a free list that pares down the books you need to read so you can easily continue your own education. Think of it as continuing ed for homeschool parents. Download the free reading list for homeschool parents at homeschoolmadesimple.net/parents or click the link in the show notes.
let's talk about these two books that you did write. So, who should we then read? Both volume 1 and 2. So, one, as you said, has 140 authors. The other has 155 more authors.
Yes.
And
Yes.
Jan, I cannot tell you what a resource this is. So describe what each one is. So I'm just opening my book randomly. Okay, here's Eleanor Fargion, and you rank her as a top author. She gets a smiley face and an exclamation point. The Little Book Room is her best known book and one of my very most beloved books. But what I love about what you do is you list everything the person has written, whether they've written fiction, biographies, nonfiction, autobiographies, or adult fiction. But what I really love is that you give us a biography of the author. So in this case, Eleanor Fargion, called Nell or Nellie, was born in England. Her father in New Zealand was a reporter during the gold rush, and he met an actor. A few years later, this actor and his daughter visited Fargion in England. Margaret, the daughter, married Fargion, the writer, and together they produced 4 enormously talented children. Eleanor was the third child, the first and only daughter among 4 boys. And then it talks about Eleanor's father had 8,000 volumes in his own personal library. And every Sunday, he presented a book to them. He read out loud to his children. And Eleanor started writing when she was 6. And then you list some of the different things. She didn't marry. She had no children. She won the Carnegie Medal in 1955 for the amazing book, The Little Book Room. You talk about her spiritual life. And of course, her poem that she wrote, Morning Is Broken, which was recorded by Cat Stevens. So, that's more than anybody probably in America knows about Eleanor Fargion. And you've done this for 300 plus authors, that you've done this research and this homework for those of us who love books. And so when we read a book, we can say to a child, now, this is written by Eleanor Estes. This person wrote this person wrote that, and this is a story of their life. And these are some other books. I didn't know they also wrote that. Yes, they did. So do you see the resources you have put into layman's hands who don't know one book from another, who could walk into any bookstore, any public library, and begin accessing the research you've done to make them feel like they know what books are worth reading out loud, what books are worth purchasing and owning and saving for our grandchildren? You have done us a huge service. And this is your life's work, isn't it?
Well, and now I don't know how I ever did it. So,
I don't either. It's amazing.
But I did. Well, in the front of the book, so under each author's name in the index, it lists the sources that I used for each author. So each author, I used at least 3 sources. And so then I just would merge together, what I was reading from different things.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting. It was really, it was just fun to do and fun to learn about them. And I enjoyed getting to know them. So my favorite story, I think, is Earl Schenck Myers, who did a lot of history and biography.
Yeah.
And in his biography, he was born with cerebral palsy back in the teens and 20s. And when his parents took him to sign him up for school in New York City, the principal said that they should institutionalize him. And they said, well, no, he can think, he just can't walk. He can't use a pen. So he carried around a manual typewriter. And he graduated high school. He went to Rutgers University. He married. He became an editor at a publishing house. And he wrote these wonderful books. So every time I see an Earl Schenck Meyer book, my heart I just think of this little boy, pulling a typewriter so he could take notes because his hands didn't work. And so I think just learning about the authors, or like Eleanor Fargion, and it's just, and when I hear Morning is Broken, I think, he didn't write that, she did. And
that's right.
And it's just been fun to get to know these authors, who they were, what created them, their ideas, and it was really fun, and I
Yes.
really enjoyed getting to know them.
Yes. I love it because, these are authors that I love, 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 like they're family members. And then you give me more information than I've known, like the story of Alice Dog Leash, or like each one of these, James Doherty's story, and how he didn't start illustrating until 1938. And actually, the first book that he wrote and illustrated was the first book that my son JJ ever read out loud. It was the first book he ever read, and that is Andy and the Lion, based on Androcles and the
Yeah,
Lion. And like these people are part of our lives, and then you've given me more insights into them and their theology, their worldview, their family, their childhoods. I mean, you have created treasures, Jan, and I'm really grateful for these books.
that's so cool. I'm so glad that I left them for you.
Thank you, honey. I am too. And I can't remember what state I was in when I got there. And somebody said, "Do you know who Jan Bloom is?" I said, "Yes." And they said, "Well, she left these books for you and she wrote you a note that you helped her so much. And she wanted, oh, it says here, it was in 2006. Thanks, Carol, for the great beginning in my own life of books. I sat under you at Mache years ago, Jan Bloom." So I don't know where we were at the time in January 2006 that these books were waiting for me when I got there to speak. And I just held them to my bosom and have
Oh,
loved them ever since, Jan.
I'm so glad.
If you're interested in getting Jan's books, check out her website at booksbloom.com. You've been listening to the Homeschool Made Simple podcast. If you like what you heard in this episode, please leave a rating and review on Apple Podcast or Spotify, or share this episode with a friend. It means so much when you help us spread the message of Homeschool Made Simple with others. Thanks for joining us this week on the Homeschool Made Simple podcast. Remember, Jesus' commandments are not burdensome. What he calls you to do, he will enable you to do. Blessings.